What's up, everybody? It's Hardy Construction. You can find us on Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, as well as Instagram with your host Komp. And
Clive, Magic Marker.
today's film is
Midnight Meat Train, 2008.
The Midnight Meat Train, 2008. A photographer's obsessive pursuit of dark subject matter leads him into the path of a serial killer who stalks late-night commuters, ultimately butchering them in the most gruesome ways imaginable. Directed by Ryuhei Kitamura, with a screenplay by Jeff Bueller, based on the short story The Midnight Meat Train by Clive
Bueller.
starring
Ferris Bueller.
starring Vinnie Jones, Bradley Cooper, and Leslie Bibb. So, why did I pick this film? Oh, okay. Well, I picked this film because
Why did you pick this film, Alex?
I don't know. I like Ryuhei Kitamura. He's a Japanese director.
Okay.
He should get a lot more work, but he does not. I think he's focusing.
What
on
is he
horror
known
films.
for?
His movie, which I wish we would have seen first. I don't know, for some reason on a whim I just decided to choose this one. Is this movie called Versus, which is basically the Evil Dead with gun fu and martial arts.
Okay.
It's really good. I mean, it's excellent. We'll do that movie for sure. It's called Versus.
Sounds like a fun movie.
It's fantastic. It's a fantastic film. Anyway,
Okay.
so Rui Kitamura, he also did a movie, I think, is it called No One Leaves Alive? That guy, and he just came out with another one. Oh shit! About like a downrange, which is basically these people stuck in a car while there's a sniper, picking them off. That
Okay.
looked interesting. I don't really give a shit about sniper movies because we got enough of them in the United States. But
Yeah.
he's very good at visuals. He's a very good technical director. Everything he does looks really good.
Oh yeah, that is a beautiful film.
If you look at his stuff,
minus a couple parts.
if you look at his stuff, it looks like a live action anime. Actually, look, just the way that the aesthetic and the look of it is. Anyway, so I had heard about Midnight Meat Train years ago. Obviously, in 2007, I guess I must have heard about it because I worked at a movie theater and I saw the trailer for
There was
it.
a whole controversy with it. I was reading about it. Did you know about the controversy?
Let's get to that, but let me go first. When I first saw it, I saw the trailer for this movie because I had just known of Ryuhei Kitamura from Versus, and I think this was his first United States film. And following the success of Versus, in independent cinemas and like film festivals and stuff like that. And I remember seeing the trailer and I was like, "Oh shit, it's midnight!" And I'm like an usher, and I'm watching the trailer in this theater, and there's like a lot of people in the theater, and it looked interesting. It was like really crazy because they really worked. This is like Bradley Cooper and Vinnie Jones,
Rocket Raccoon.
they're slumming it. This is before they break big, I guess, both of them. Really, Vinnie Jones, I guess, was pretty big back then. This is Bradley Cooper.
I actually don't know who he is. I mean, I recognize him, but I can't figure out who he is.
He's
But
a juggernaut,
Bradley
bitch.
Cooper.
Oh, Bradley Cooper. Anyway, so the whole trailer looks pretty interesting and horrifying and stuff like that. It looks really good. And then they say the title, The Midnight Meat Train, and the whole audience laughed. They couldn't stop laughing because the title was ridiculous. It is a ridiculous title. If you think about, if you're reading it as a horror novel, okay, The Midnight Meat Train, it sounds gross. But then when you hear about it in a movie, it sounds like a gay porn title. Well, there's anything wrong with it, but it just sounds like porno or something.
Yeah, it's a gangbang. It's like
Yeah.
a train. They're doing
Like,
a
if
train
they-
on someone.
Had they called it The Midnight Train, they would have solved their problem. But what is the controversy? I think I know what you're talking about because there's the director. Go ahead.
When they, the guy in charge of the production company or whatever, Lionsgate, I believe, got fired, and then when the new guy took over, or he resigned or whatever, when the new guy took over, he basically said, "Oh, we're not doing this movie." Took the movie away, even though it was basically already made.
Yes.
And the trailer had already been released and shit, and then so that way he could release whatever film he was producing without any competition during the week it was released.
Mm-hmm.
And
do you know what that movie was? I don't know.
I forget. I'll try to look it up. But
apparently they dumped this film.
Everyone was so pissed off about it.
Yeah, because they had a vision and they were helping Ryuhei. Basically, they were helping him because this is his first United States film. And if you listen, there's a podcast called Post Mortem. I don't know why. I just listened to the episode today and I forget the guy's name. Anyway, and they interview horror directors. It's a really interesting podcast, and it's really nice to hear about these directors that usually get shit on because, well, horror is doing better nowadays. But we're talking about the horror directors that worked probably 10 years before it hit its other renaissance. Because from the 80s through 2000s, it's sort of hit and miss. And
I
anyway,
mean, the '80s and the '90s is to me the golden age of horror.
yeah, like it's even stuff like Scream and stuff like that was fun. But Ryuhei Kitamura is interviewed and he does detail that story, and it's really interesting to listen to him talk about the realities of trying to work in the horror genre. And it's not necessarily like the specific type of horror that he does. It's like graphic and gory and stuff like that, and really cool looking. But sometimes they're looking more for nowadays. They're looking more for shit like The Conjuring and stuff like that. And
Right.
so when him trying to make his movie,
Mainstream.
and he's now part of this anthology horror film that's going to be coming out called Nightmare Cinema, which is like 5 directors of horror films, and they put them together. And his sounds really interesting. I think his is like a
Nightmare meet cinema.
yes, his is about like a his story. I think is about a haunted like Catholic school with kids and stuff like that, which seems pretty cool. And I think it's like action scenes. So
Oh wow! So they're taking the scandal to supernatural points now.
yeah. So let me see in the trivia, and it's official.
You see like a ghost, like a Francis Bacon ghost pope, like molesting children.
In its official North American release, the film opened in 102 discount theaters, also called dollar theaters. Wow, remember those? I couldn't believe those actually existed back then.
I've never seen a dollar theater.
I went to like Times Square with some people, and they said, "Oh, let's go to the dollar theater." And I went to and it was like movies that were probably like.
Oh, the movie is The Strangers. That Joe Drake, the executive producer.
Oh, it made money. That came out at the same time. No way, really?
I guess I don't know.
Well, whatever. Anyway, so that couldn't be because The Strangers 2
That's what
just
it
came
says.
out. That movie can't be fucking 10 years old. I guess it could be. Anyway, so yeah, they don't. Anyway, the movie theaters back then. I remember going to Times Square, and then like we went like to the off Broadway area, and we saw like a movie like it was like 3 months old, and it was like $5 to see like a first run film. It was really crazy. Now
That's pretty cool.
Now you have to
You
like
can find
pay $50
matinees
million.
sometimes for that, but like
I'm
yeah,
sure
New
that's
York
like
City
theaters
prices are
up
absurd.
in podunk lands now. But anyway, so Midnight Meat Train is based on a Clive Barker short story from his novella, or I mean anthology book called Books of Blood. I've never read a Clive Barker novel. I'm aware of his films. And
Well, this is a compilation.
Okay. Is that what they call it? Isn't that an anthology?
Books of Blood. It's pretty cool because I remember the opening. Like it starts with this guy who gets all of these stories basically like carved into his skin, and it's like all the stories that are being read.
Oh, that's right. They
like,
made a movie about this actually. They made a movie called Books of
I
Blood.
wonder if it was good.
I doubt it.
Actually, like,
I saw the ending of it. I don't think it was good. I only
There's
saw
like 3 Books of Blood books, but I've read a couple short stories of the first one.
Okay. Here's some trivia. In Silver Linings Playbook, this is basically one of the films that Bradley Cooper got real famous for with him and Jennifer Lawrence. And it's like when they're walking by a theater and it's on the marquee, Midnight Meat Train. So that's nice, I guess. I don't know. That might be a joke or something. Anyway, so I listened to, I went on YouTube and I found the Books of Blood. They have YouTube. You can actually find a lot of audiobooks. And I'm telling people this now. There's a version of the best version of the American Psycho audiobook is on YouTube right now, which is the Vanguard edition with this actor Pablo Schreiber. Fantastic. Go listen to that. Anyway, so I found the audiobook after this, and we'll talk about the audiobook or the novel after this. So what is the basic premise of this story?
There was a man on a train who beats people with a hammer and then hangs them their meat up for these things to eat. It's quite scary. And meanwhile, there's a photographer, and he's following him around trying to get pictures because he's obsessed, and he's trying to get all these good pictures so he can have a cool little art show.
So this is supposed to take place in New York City, and I was
Is it?
Yes, it is, because it's in the novel.
I like your reaction.
So I was watching the movie, and I'm watching all the train stations that the movie's like passing by, and I'm like, I know those names of those streets is like 14th Street. I was like, well, I had to go to work at 14th Street for like nearly 10 years, and I was like, that is not fucking 14th Street Station if I've ever seen one. This looks like a fucking train station from outer space because
it's an alternate dimension.
It's like one of the
New
most
York.
beautiful train stations I've ever seen. It's like if you've ever seen the John Wick films. There's John Wick Part 2. And they shot that movie half in Canada because it's supposed to be in New York City because a lot of the exteriors are obviously New York, But then they go down to the train station, and it looks like a train station from Japan. And I was like, "What the fuck is this? Like, there's no way this is a train station in New York. The train stations in New York are fucking
the
dumps.
train stations in New York are garbage. I was just like I almost died today with the heat in there. It's hotter than it is outside. It's like 100 something degrees in there.
So
like straight up, and there's no ventilation.
So anyway, the train station's here, and I was like, "What is this?" And then like some of the cops, there's like some weird cops in this film that are like dicks. And you didn't like the female detective, but there was one.
Yeah, but you know what? When I said I didn't like her, it was before I understood that she's not
right. She's part of the whole
a
thing.
Cop. Because I thought she was just like a really stupid cop. Like, it made me think of Jeffrey Dahmer when because one of his victims escaped. Actually, went to the cops, and the cops brought him back to Jeffrey Dahmer's house because they thought it was like a gay feud or something between
they were like,
two
they
gay
didn't want to
lovers.
deal with it.
And the guy was all drugged up because Jeffrey Dahmer drugged him, so they assumed it was just like some drunk gay feud.
The one cop that I was like upset about was
killed,
this the guy who had a Metropolitan badge on his uniform, and I was like, Metropolitan Police? Like, what the fuck does that mean? And,
well, maybe that's why it's not New York.
I guess so. Even though it has New York streets in the fucking title, and it looks like it was in fucking Chicago or something. And the cop's like, he's just taking a photo, and he's like, "Hey, what is that? I don't know if that's a bomb or something." The guy had a fucking camera in his hand. Like, are you kidding?
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, the cops
shit.
are bizarre in this film. Anyway, so the movie starts out with what is his name in here? Okay, Leon, because I think in the book his name is Kaufman. They call him Kaufman because he's Jewish in the book.
Right.
And I might as well just start comparing.
A Jew in London.
And I guess, Barker.
In the book, it's in London.
No, it's in New York City. I just told you before we did the episode.
Yes. Oh, in the book too?
Yeah, it's in New York City.
Oh, okay.
Because basically the premise in the book is that Kaufman is a, and the reason why I pronounce Kaufman that way is because he makes he makes mahogany, which is a fucking name I love. I love that name. I don't know why, but that's like an awesome name for the villain. Mahogany sees him in the train, and he doesn't like hit him with a hammer over his head. He just says, "Oh, he's probably just some Jewish money lawyer or some shit like that," and just leaves him alone like he's weak. I was like, "Oh man, that's racist." But anyway, so Kaufman in the book, he's called Leon in the film. Apparently, he's like you don't necessarily see this in the film, but in the book, he's like he moved from some small town to New York City to become a photographer. He wanted to do his art, and he. Just like everything else, the kind of shine and shimmer of something goes away. So he had lived in New York so long that he just didn't give a shit anymore. And
that's exactly what New York does to people.
Well, yeah, I mean, I assume any place is like that.
It's a horrible place.
And I like New York.
New York's horrible.
No, it's nice. And
fuck you.
Go to your fucking third world country, enjoy it. So so he's like in the book.
Going to a third world country.
So he's and he doesn't like the city anymore in the book. In the film, that's not necessarily anything. He's more of a struggling New York photographer that's dealing with. He doesn't get to do his art. He has to do like photographs of like crime scenes and stuff like that to make money, make ends meet, and make ends meet train. And he lives with his girlfriend, Leslie Bibb, who, for some reason, that girl does not age. She was in Iron Man. You know, she's like that reporter that's in...
She's the reporter that has sex with him?
Yeah, she's the girl who's in all the...
Good for Tony.
All the Marvel movies. She's in a lot of them. I can't say she's in all of them, but she's in a lot of them. She's very pretty.
I've actually never noticed her in all of them.
Yeah, she was like prominent in that one, but I know she popped up in I think she's in all the Iron Man films. Anyway, she's also dating Justin Hammer from Iron Man 3. Iron Man 2, I'm sorry.
Oh, I think I might know who she is then. Okay.
Yeah, she's dating Justin Hammer in real life, so good for them. They make a cute couple. So she's his girlfriend. She's like a waitress at she looks like she's I was gonna say she looks like she aged out of being a waitress, but I guess you can be at any age of being a waiter or a waitress. Honestly, now that you and I went to the thing. And but she's like so pretty. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, she's dealing with him, and then she works at this New York diner, and he just wants to make his living as an artist, and he just finds it so difficult. But she hooks up. She has a friend played by Roger Bart, playing a guy named Jurgis. Roger Bart, I think
totally recognized him. I couldn't.
He
think
is.
where.
He's from Hostel 2. I don't know what else he's from. He's been in a lot of things. Saw that. Yeah, don't worry about that movie. He's great in that. He's fantastic in that movie. But
I
Roger
have no interest in seeing. This is a pointless sequel.
Yeah, it is. What about Hostel 3 when they go to Vegas? Now that's a real pointless sequel.
Do they? Wait, no.
They
That's
did.
not true,
There's
is
a
it?
Hostel 3. For some reason, it's in
Oh,
Vegas.
that's
I don't know why there's a
stupid.
hostel in Vegas, but whatever. I guess there's hostels in New York, so they could be in Vegas. So Roger Bart, I think I'm aware that he's a Broadway actor. That's why he's like really good, and he sort of looks like a guy who could break out into song any 5 seconds. So he just looks like that. He was in Hostel 2, American Gangster. He was in.
If they do a Broadway of this, he'll be breaking down song as he hangs from his ankles.
Yes. Anyway, so apparently his character Jurgis has a connection with Brooke Shields. Brooke Shields is looking pretty smoking hot in the movie. You know, she looks good.
Yeah.
I never found Brooke Shields for my taste because I'm such a good-looking guy. This is opposite talk.
Well, you can get anyone that you want.
That's true.
With your amazing, and so can I.
We're so good-looking. That's why
I'm
never show
so
our faces
attractive
on
and
these
in
podcasts.
shape.
But no, but Brooke Shields is like a ball-breaking art critic, or I mean, sorry, she's like she owns a gallery, so she puts up pieces, and I guess I'm turned on by women that just humiliate me, so maybe that's why. And she's like, show me something real, take real photographs of real events, because he shows her a photo of a guy falling asleep, about to hit his, slip onto a businessman, and she goes, I want to see what happens after. Like, she wants to see the actual money shot of what's going to happen.
The actual.
So Leon goes out into the night. He follows these. Of course, I can tell this is a Japanese director because all the black people in the movie are like cartoonish and buffoonish. Especially the men, they're like cartoons. Like,
see, I never realized they do that.
If you ever watch Japanese like movies and stuff, like they only know black people.
So they're like, are they like?
Well, like the
racist?
really, I think I'm not saying all Japanese people, obviously.
Of course,
not all,
of course.
Hashtag not all, but like there's if you watch some of their dramas and stuff like that, if they shoot like a Japanese drama in New York, like they'll shoot like a Japanese TV show in New York, so it'll be Japanese characters in New York settings, but then all the black people are like gangsters or rappers. There's like no difference.
Okay.
There's no regular black guy. It's just like either one or the other, and those characters appear in this film besides the detective. It's either a black thug who's a fighter on the train who decides to make a citizen's arrest for some reason, and then the three would-be rapists. So that's like I'm not being some crazy liberal.
Yeah,
it's
why
just
would he
funny
do
how,
well, the would-be rapist, one of them was... He looked like the guy from Ninja Turtles 2, the pizza delivery guy.
He looked like an Asian man to you?
Yeah, a little bit.
He looked like Snoop to me from this show. Not Snoop Dogg, but Snoop is this woman who I guess looks like a female version of Snoop Dogg from The Wire. But anyway, so he's following these three black guys who are being, I guess, total assholes. It's not like it's not, that doesn't happen, but it was just funny for the film. He's following them. He's taking photographs of them, and the three guys are essentially wanting to sexually assault this Japanese model. Like, this Japanese chick is like by herself, and she's like, she's hot, but then they're like assaulting her. They're like, you want to get past, you got to give me something, and they're like, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, they didn't give a shit. And that stuff actually happens, that really happens in real life. But it was just so funny seeing it in this movie. It's like, what the hell is going on? And Cooper says, he's trying to take photos of him coming up the staircase, and then he points out the what is it, the CCTV surveillance camera. And the
As
guy,
if anybody ever checks those things.
And then the one dude says, man, you did. I thought they were going to come back in the film and get killed by mahogany in some way, but they just don't come back anymore. He starts.
See, there's no way that many people could die in a train and no one would know it.
Yeah, and what?
Even with cops in on it.
Yeah, because in the novel, in the short story, it's like recently happening where they find these bodies, and like the butcher of the train. That's what they call it. They call him the butcher and stuff like that. So it's happening, but like it seems like it just started now. But it makes sense that it started there as well. But I think when we find
in the
out
movie
later,
they say it's 100 years back.
Yeah, right. So he must like come in and out of time. Like those monsters must go to sleep and shit, and then wake up.
I think different people take over.
Oh, okay.
The same way they did at the end of the movie.
So why would he keep the fucking things from other people?
I mean, the reason why is because they know the consequences of not feeding the monsters. That's my theory.
I thought he was immortal. Like, it made him immortal, but I guess not. Because obviously
he's just a guy. Although he does have very unexplained weird tumors that he cuts off and puts in a jar, which I don't get what that's about.
Yeah, I thought he was just dying. he was just like his age was reaching up to him. That's what I thought. I wasn't sure. I'm
Okay.
very confused about all that stuff, but because that's not in the short story.
Why did he store the tumors in a jar? That's
Because
what
I
I
think
want
they
to
were
know.
just trying to be shocking for the film, like disgusting. Because it made
Oh, okay.
that serves no purpose other than to be gross in the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he later notices that Vinnie Jones's character. Vinnie Jones is a footballer in England. I guess is a rugby guy. I'm sorry, and he notices him coming out of the train station, and he gives him a curt sort of stare and stuff like that. And then he puts two and two together that because he sees a ring on his hand, he sees that he's the
Yeah.
same guy that he took a photo of accidentally of the Japanese model getting into the same train. She gets her. Oh man, those special effects in this movie.
Oh yeah, that
They're
was
they're pretty heinous, but
the. You know what? Not all of them, but there was one in particular, and I texted you at the moment, like, what the fuck
it
is
had to be
happening?
Ted Raimi, right?
It was the point where the eyes
Yes,
went
Ted
out
Raimi.
of the.
But you know what? I looked at it again. It is bad, but it was still interestingly done. Like I
It's
liked the
just
way
so
it looked.
silly. It's
But
silly.
it's so cool because I'd never seen that in a film like that. The only other time I've seen somebody get their eye knocked out of the head was in Story of Ricky.
Yeah, but it
And
was just the way it was done. It was like all dramatic and stuff. I was like, what the hell is
it was
happening
done
here?
in slow motion. That was so funny, but it looked like he hits him in the back of the head with that big fucking hammer, and then his eyes. Was that like a one of those meat hammers that you pound shit out? Or
Yeah, it's like it's the
'cause it
kind that
doesn't
you use
look
to
like
pulverize the meat.
okay, he hits him in the back of the head, and his eyes fly out the fucking front of his face. It was hilarious.
Which probably could happen, but
Oh,
it
I'm
was
sure
just
of
the
it.
way it was like animated just looked silly.
I mean,
Like,
it's actually very gruesome. I remember.
I would love to see practical effects in these movies. Like a lot of it was.
Yeah,
They
this
could,
is like a lot of heavy CG on certain parts, and you're just like, what the hell is going on? But that's like,
there's no reason for it. Like
Yeah.
just do it real. What the
I
hell?
think they just could not know how to do that particular effect that they wanted to have control over it, where the eyes would fly out in the right
But
way.
every other fucking
I know
horror movie
they could have
does
done
it.
that with like fishing wire and eyeballs flying out of the head. But yeah, so and then also when he knocks that girl's head to the side, the first model, and it looks like cartoonishly funny.
Yeah.
I like the gore effects. I mean, they're like really bad for some of them, but for the rest of them, for the most part, they're actually
I
pretty
mean, when
good.
it's actual practical effects, which is a good portion of it,
Yeah, that's
it's
really
like
good.
fun.
Like when they're hanging up the bodies at the end and chopping them up, and it was really graphic.
it's
Like when he's
great.
pulling the eyeballs out of one of that corpse's face, I was like, Jesus! I was like, that's like really graphic. Like it was really graphic.
Yeah.
And
Good.
yeah, it was good. And so anyway, the whole film is basically Leon starts becoming obsessed with finding this mahogany guy and learning about him and why. I don't know why, because then he starts having these nightmares. So in the film, they make it like he's sort of his passing by just in mahogany in his like general direction. Now he's sort of like cursed to become mahogany. So I don't know why,
Right.
because that's not in the book either. They basically took. This is what I was thinking when I was watching this. I
I'm
was,
trying to like. I definitely think I read bits and pieces of this. I'm pretty sure I read the story because I remember the ending, but then also like I don't think I read it through for some reason, or I skimmed it like instead of reading it all the way because I don't remember anything except the very ending. Pretty
It's
much.
sort of how they like, you know how they made 3 movies out of the fucking Hobbit, which is basically could have
Yeah.
been one movie. They made a
Yeah.
fucking like a nearly 2-hour film based
They
on
could have
something
made
that was,
like two-hour movies for The Hobbit, and it would have been awesome.
the book itself is like the audiobook one portion of this story itself was like only an hour long basically. So they
Yeah.
stretched it out to something else, adding like B stories. Because in the book it goes like this: Kaufman, he is hearing all this stuff about a butcher on the train, and he ends up just getting on the train, and he sees Mahogany killing people. The train stops at wherever the hell they go, wherever the old ancient people who built the city were, and he kills Mahogany. And they rip his tongue out just like in the movie, and they tell him you're going to be the one, because the whole deal was that he was tired of the city, and by the end of it he's gone through so much terror and horror that he comes outside, like they let him outside to go to the top of the city, and he's out of the train station, and he's like he kisses the ground because the city is so beautiful to him again. So I guess it's some ironic sort of ending. And he decides to work for them, although it doesn't make
Honestly,
any fucking sense to
I
me.
could believe that the MTA would be behind something like this.
So what we find
They
out,
they are the worst.
what
They
we
could do
find out
this.
is the grand scheme, which I actually like the idea of it, but I didn't necessarily like the execution of how the monsters look. They look sort of like real cheap to me. Is that the Midnight Meat Train is that they carve up all these people, and then they in the book they have to be very specific. Like the people have to be like healthy, and in good shape, to be consumed. Because mahogany is like, I don't want to, take any drugged out people or fat people or whatever type of people.
Well, there you go. We just have to be unhealthy, and we're fine. Go.
But in the film, I guess they're killing anybody, and they put them on. They rack them up on this train tracks, and they go to a hidden train station. And why the MTA doesn't check on it, I don't know, because the cops aren't in on it in the book, as far as I read.
One of the cops is. Oh.
In the book. In the movie, yeah, they are, because the detective is like...
Well, they don't get into that level of detail at all, do they?
I mean, they had enough time. They had enough time to add all these fucking sub-stories that they could have just gone into that. But
no, I guess I'm saying in the book.
No, I guess not. I mean, he could have, but he just didn't.
It's like, isn't it like only like 100 pages, you said?
Something like that, right. So, they in the book, the whole storyline is that they bring these bodies, like the conductor as well is in on it. He runs around with a gun in his hand. He blows out Rampage Jackson's head. Rampage Jackson is this MMA fighter. I think UFC guy. He was in the A-Team. He's like this big black dude. And he's
is it the guy who was fighting?
He was the bad actor. He goes, I'm making a citizen's arrest. I was like, what?
Oh, right.
Just kick the guy's ass. And in real life, Rampage Jackson would have pulled Vinny. I don't know. Vinny Jones is actually a pretty fucking tough guy.
He's a pretty big guy, man.
Yeah. I think they're actually.
If I saw that guy in that business suit, frowning down at his briefcase, I'd be scared of him. I would leave.
Actually, Vinny Jones is pretty formidable looking guy. Because
he looks like a scary person.
Yeah, he was a rugby player. So to play rugby, that shit looks tough as fuck. That game. That's like they put their fingers on the other players' eyes.
Well, that's like American football, minus all the nonsense,
right.
Pretty much, right?
They really fuck each other up, and that he's a big fucking dude. And he's been in a lot of American films, but he's not necessarily a lead. They try to make him leads in other films, but he's sort of Jason Statham. He's like, oh, go take care of Ace. He's like that. Yeah. But Jason Statham, I guess, has more acting.
I really like Bradley Cooper, though.
No, he's good. He's one of those actors where he's gonna give a good to decent performance.
I don't know him from much. Obviously I've seen The Hangover, and I remember in watching that thinking oh, this guy's such a dick. But that was just his character,
It's nice.
He's a good, a good-looking
nice guy,
dick.
And he plows through chicks. So good
in Hangover, he's supposed to be this good-looking ladies' man type of guy, and I don't like people like that, so I didn't like him. But then he's Rocket Raccoon, and he's fucking amazing.
Yeah, he's good as Rocket Raccoon. He's really good. Too bad they're not gonna make any more of those movies. So they canceled the latest one. So there you go.
I thought of all these funny jokes, as he was taking the pictures or whatever, you would see James Gunn making jokes about incest with Vinny, whatever, Mahogany.
So Mahogany, in the book, he's a balding, fat, pudgy guy, and in here they make him the fucking Terminator, which I think is a better choice to make him more formidable, and makes more sense that he's picking.
How could a balding, fat, pudgy guy lift people up on the hooks?
I don't know. Maybe I thought they gave him superpowers.
Was Mahogany an actual butcher in the?
No, he wasn't either. Not that I remember.
Or they don't explain it, right?
You should listen to the audiobook. It's actually...
I'm going to now. Actually,
I didn't have a problem with because you have a problem with Clive Barker's writing, right? You said?
Well, let's get to that in a second. Okay. But, so, apparently they wrote another version of this story, Midnight Meat Train, outside of the Books of Blood, more elaborated on.
Really?
Basically has... Apparently, I was reading about it, because apparently, Stephen King did the same thing with The Stand. He...
Well, no shit, the stand's 9,000 pages, isn't it?
Well, it was originally 700, and then he released an edition that was 900, which I've read so many times, the extended edition. But anyway, yeah, Clive Barker's writing is weird, because he's this writer where I like every story I've ever read, and I love all the characters and shit, but his style of writing is so dry, and he makes the characters do these stupid things. And I don't know, I get very frustrated reading all this stuff because I'm so conflicted the whole time.
Right. I mean, having read having watched a little bit of Clive Barker stuff, I enjoy it. So, and having listened to that book, I thought it was pretty neat. I thought it was okay. I mean, I actually want to look for that now because the stuff that we've seen
I think I own it. I'll just give it to you.
Oh, cool. The he wrote and directed what the hell was the first one? Hellraiser.
Yeah.
That was a good one. That was enjoyable. I didn't see any.
He also directed that awful one, Nightbreed, though.
Yes, you hate that movie. I really
did hate that movie.
There's a director's cut that I heard that makes it good, so I'm not
sure. The
Cabal
release
cut, something like that. He had,
Yeah, I just can't bring myself to watch it because it's like I hated the original so much. How much different could it really be?
did he have anything to do with the phenomenal Hellraiser Judgment?
No.
Such sweet suffering. No. Anyway, movie. What a movie.
What a bad movie.
Anyway, but I enjoyed it. I really like macabre sort of fucking dark writing because I'm an edge master or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But you know, I like the idea of this. I wish they could have gone a little bit more into dealing with, because I mean the whole idea, like everything is basically ripping off H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah. Oh, this is totally referencing H.P. Lovecraft.
They're like looking at the old ones, stuff like that. These monsters,
reptile people or whatever the hell they are.
And I still laughed at H.P. Lovecraft. Like everybody loves H.P. Lovecraft, and that's fine because
he was like a horrible person.
He's very talented, but he was like super racist, and I guess that was the sign of the times back then. And I still laugh that
what?
He had a dog called N-word Man.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
So fucking fun. It's just like this guy's like a genius writer, and then he takes the time out of writing like brilliant horror to call his dog N-word. Like he actually used the N-word man, and I'm like, what the hell is your problem? Like what's wrong with you? And then
he's calling that to the dog and shit.
Like what the hell is wrong with what is like what is this hate in your guts for that? And then
I just googled it.
Like,
apparently. I just googled it, but it was a cat, and it was a black cat, and I think it was a character in a book, not necessarily.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. So maybe he's not like Kramer.
I'm trying to look into it right now. Although
he did write a really disgusting thing called "The Origin of the N-Word," because if you ever read this book called Lovecraft Country. Good fucking book, real fun. They're gonna make it into an HBO series with just the guy who did Get Out is producing it.
Oh, good.
But they actually put that in the fucking book to make people realize, this guy Lovecraft was like racist as shit. But you really wish your people that are heroes of. He's not necessarily my hero. I appreciate his work, but you really wish you didn't know what these people.
That's why you got to separate the art from the artist.
That's what you try to do. Like Louis C.K.
Because otherwise, I wouldn't like so much.
But are you a fan of Louis C.K. comedy and him jerking off in front of people?
I mean, well, I wasn't a fan of his comedy, but I was a big fan of that.
Anyway, so I mean, I like the idea of and the whole additions to the film. Like, I didn't hate them because I read the book. I heard the book after the film. And I was like, they could have just handled it differently. And I didn't have a problem with Leslie Bibb's character.
They have to, Hollywood it up and give him a love interest.
Yeah, they had to give him something. Like, I liked Leslie Bibb's character. I didn't hate it because usually girlfriends in the film are, really obnoxious and assholes. But she was, likable in the film. And the the guy Jorgis I liked. You know what I mean? Even the guy who was the chef, the diner guy, he was fine. I liked him too. Everybody was likable.
Actually, I really recognized the diner owner too, and I couldn't
they feel like the good thing with a good horror, even a decent horror film, is when every actor is good in it. You know what I mean? Nobody sucked in this movie. Vinnie Jones was the worst actor, and he was good in this. Do you know what I mean? So it's
he didn't really have to be an actor in this. He was just a scary figure.
Yeah, I mean, and then the only weird thing was Bradley Cooper was so affected by photographs of all this stuff, it made him quasi rape his girlfriend. What the hell was that? This is one of the first. When he goes, he goes into the apartment and he eats his girlfriend's ass, and I was like, hey, good for him. Now I can, I have something in common with this guy. And then he he violently butt fucks her, and she has a face on.
Well, he could have just been it's not necessarily a butt.
They could have. What the thing is, they should have used.
He could have just been going doggy in the vagina.
Well, you know what I mean. I still call it butt fucking, but he should have said the line of the movie, the name of the movie, and then he goes, "I'm gonna give you the midnight meat train."
It comes in it's dubbed Siri's voice.
Who?
Siri from the phone.
What the hell are you talking about?
Or Alexa from
it would have been fucking
Alexa, what am I doing to my girlfriend right now? Midnight meat train.
The midnight. He should have said the midnight meat train. He's fucking her from behind, and then you see
He's I'm gonna give you the midnight meat train.
And then you see you're giving her the Midnight Meat Train, and then you see like the bell ringer and goes woo woo, like comes out of the sky, and then he has like a conductor hat on, and then you see like a tiny Ringo Starr come out. He goes, Thomas wanted to fuck his girlfriend. See, I'm making a Thomas and Friends reference.
Yeah, I know.
I enjoyed it. I liked the film. I thought it could have been. My problem is I read the audiobook after, which I thought was much more simple and cleaner. So it made me sort of be like,
well, it's a short story, and this is a feature-length film.
I thought Kitamura does well with the storyline. It has a decent amount of gore in it. You know, it's good gore. Really good gore in it.
Minus the CGI shit.
Some of the CGI is pretty bad, but even I was like, meh, it's fine, like, you know, whatever. And I don't really give
that one scene with the eyeballs, though, was just
I
silly.
ended up liking it. I don't know why. It is a terrible
It was
effect
just absurd to me. I don't know.
Good acting from everybody. The fucking camera work is fantastic. Vinnie Jones is really good as a scary fucking Terminator guy. I really liked it a lot. Like, originally when I was watching, I was like, oh, it's a 5. But now thinking about it in hindsight, I'll probably give it a 7. Because it's a decent sort of, you know, it's a decent little horror.
7 out of 10 what?
I'll give it a 7 out of 10. We just did a joke about it, but violently butt blasting your girlfriend after taking photos of horrific events. Of a guy in a... Wait, did he take the photos of him in the meat locker and then butt fuck her violently, or is that something different? Whatever, he did it. He fucked it. He's a bad guy.
I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. You know... watching monsters stab your girlfriend and they remove your tongue, and then you decide, well, I don't want these guys to get up on the surface, so I guess I'm going to murder a bunch of people and feed them to them.
I guess so. I mean, he got that bad haircut at the end, too, and he turns his face. Bradley Cooper, is he Jewish?
See, what he should have been doing, he's a photographer, he should have taken pictures of the monsters and gotten all the evidence, and then he should have fucking gone to, like, the military or something and told them.
But the whole theory is that those monsters will come up from the ground and eat everyone, right?
Yeah, but that's why you get like people with guns.
Yeah, I know.
This is why we have a Second Amendment. This is why we have a Second Amendment, to protect ourselves from them.
Imagine that's what it is, and that's what like our fearless president.
Maybe they can't get hurt by bullets. I mean, they are super strong. That train conductor in the human skin lifted him up. You saw that.
The guy who was the diner owner, he was in Private Parts. I remember him. He was a lawyer. He was in a lot of stuff. So I mean, he's been in a lot of shit. Anyway, So what's your rating on this film?
I just said it. You son of a bitch.
Okay, very good. That shows how much I pay attention to what you're saying. Is there any other sort of Clive Barker stuff that you could recommend, story-wise, or books and stuff like that you think are worth
books?
Reading? Obviously,
what the fuck? Imagica was one that I read, which again is an awesome book, but for whatever reason, like some of the stuff he does with the characters,
he did some new sort of weird retelling of Hellraiser. So where he like
Weave World is pretty cool too.
Weave World, I swear to God, whenever I hear
these are two that actually Thea recommended me. There's also this one called The Great and Secret Show, which was pretty awesome, but I never read the sequels to it.
Whenever I hear Weave World, it makes me think of like a weave shop in Atlanta, and it's just like all these women come in and get their weaves done.
It's just that's what it's called.
Like, oh, you look good. Oh, thank you. You know, that's all it is.
It's about a magical tapestry that has a universe inside it.
Oh, that's interesting. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about this, or no? That's it.
But the fucking audio. I listened to it on audiobook, and the guy that was doing the voice, whenever he did the voice of the main villain, I got so angry. Like his voice was, because his voice was like infuriating.
Is it like, hello, governor?
No, it was like this like whispery, like raspy sort of, and like every time he did that or the main lady.
But you're
villain,
affected by ASMR, right? So maybe that's.
I wanted to jump through the fucking iPod and like kill this guy. It was so bad.
Was he a British guy?
Yeah, I think so.
He said his god comes out, he shows he's a monster, and he says this. Oh, I'm gonna kill you, mate. Hey, that's what he said. That's what all talk about. That's what he sounded like.
It was just like that.
Oh, cool. All right, so with that, Danny, what's the final word?
Let's pray that it snows soon.
The horror deconstruction.